Hello builders, and welcome back to the World Zoo project, a giant zoo where I am trying to fit a habitat in for every animal in the game. And today's video is not a building video, but a tour video for our African Adventures expansion to the zoo, where we fit 24 habitats in, featuring 36 species. As with all my builds, this has been a labor of love, lasting at least 4 months of work over on Twitch, where I built the zoo live. So if you want to come join me over there, click the link down below and come follow me on Twitch. Now a little bit before we get started, a fair warning, the video quality might be a little bit low, but that is more to do with the size of this save file. It has become quite expansive as we now have 183 species in the zoo as I recorded this. And fair to say, my computer is chugging along, trying to run Planet Zoo as well as getting the recording done. And you may also be looking at the video length and thinking, oh geez, this is a whole hour long tour. Well, let me show you why this is an hour long. To accurately show off the entire area, I've put in a total of 395 camera points for your viewing pleasure. So needless to say, it did take quite a while to create the setup and film it. And I did it all in one take on my first go, so yay! But being that this is all one take without any pauses, sometimes the animals will be in the perfect position for the cinematic road tour and sometimes they won't. We may or may not see all the animals, but I am trying to include some of the best clips I could take while I was filming, just for you while we do our intro today. But I think this intro has gone on long enough and I'm sure you want to get on with the tour, so we'll do that right now for you. And let's commence the tour now, shall we? Now we begin the tour by, of course, walking across our bridge to our African Adventures section. And up first we have the tiny little porcupines. Their habitat is attached to 2 other habitats of smaller animals that we have at the entrance of Africa, and you'll be seeing them soon enough. For the porcupines, I made their habitat into a little bit of a spiral, where their den is on the left here, and then they spiral upwards to the top. Usually when I build these habitats, I don't like them being just simple flat things, since flat habitats are boring, and I love to have some hills and valleys and rocks and all kinds of weird designs with my habitats whenever I get the chance. Of course, it really depends on the animal, but in this case I decided to give the porcupines a tiny bit of a hill to climb. That way they can get some exercise up on their way to the food, keeping them active and healthy. And flying over the cliff, we come to the little porcupine den, a perfect little size hole for them to enter into. Once through here, we can now look at the other animals they share a sleeping area with. Guests can walk down the stairs and see the dik-diks in one habitat, and in another they can see the aardvarks and the meerkats sharing one habitat together, because they are the best little buddies. The first window here is the dik-dik barn, but it doesn't look like anyone is home right now, unless that's one knocking the box around, which it could be. So let's move on to the meerkats and aardvarks. They have their own little burrow down here, but we will fly through and look at the rest of the habitat and see if we can see any of them running around. They are very small, so you have to kind of squint to see some of them. Especially because the quality of this video is low, because I had to film this video on low settings in Planet Zoo. So again, I apologize for that, but there are limitations to the hardware in which I built the zoo. I am dedicated one way or the other to get this zoo complete, even if my computer explodes. And while this habitat may not be an intricate spiral like the porcupine habitat, it's still definitely not flat, as I have a hill up on the middle and a bridge for guests to walk across and for the animals to go underneath. And flying around the corner, we come to the third animal in the tour, the little, but not least, the dik-dik. One of the cute little animals in the zoo, and the unfortunate recipient of many bad jests at the expense of their little names. As with the other two habitats we had just seen, they do feature a center viewing area with a bridge for guests to go over and the animals to go underneath. Their habitat though is a little bit more green than the other two, featuring more of a grassland, and some beautiful little sleeping areas for them to rest outside in the shade. These guys are truly adorable, and I wish I could have one as a pet, but I'm sure I wouldn't know how to take care of it, so of course we will leave it out in the wild where it belongs. And now we move on to the fourth habitat, the first in our tropical line of habitats for the African section, for the bongos. But as I said, we separate Africa into two sections, the tropical side and the more grassland savannah side. So we will now continue the tour looking more at the tropical animals, and we will then transition over back to the safari animals. For the bongos, they are of course one of the early animals we see in the tour. Guests can see them right beside the porcupines at the entrance of the African section. Their habitat is more of a lush jungle and features a waterfall flowing in from the mandrill habitat above and then going down into the canyon below, which also feeds into our insect cave, which is another video on the channel. Make sure to check out all the tour videos for the World Zoo, as they do detail many of the builds of these beautiful cinematic routes. Although I will admit that the past videos probably have better quality than this one, because as the zoo gets larger and larger, the quality of these videos drop simply because my computer is having a hard time rendering everything. And climbing to the top of the hill, guests can then enter Mandrill Manor, a lovely little area with, you guessed it, mandrills. One thing I love about this habitat and how it turned out is it gives guests the feeling that they are inside the habitats, with these glass domes all around them and the mandrills climbing on either side and above. You really feel like you are walking through the wilderness with the mandrills, although with a bit of glass to protect you from being mauled by them. Another fun fact with this habitat is it is directly above my insect cave, so guests can be walking around in the cave below, look up through a couple holes, and see a glass ceiling with mandrills walking above him. Although I cannot guarantee that the mandrills won't just be pooping on that glass and smearing around. Who knows what they want to do, but I'll guarantee that the zookeepers and the janitors are in there cleaning it up right away. As we come outside, you will see one of those glass ceilings I mentioned earlier. I'm sure it's perfectly safe and no chance that glass will ever shatter and rain down on people. Safety is our number one concern here at the World Zoo, and certainly not aesthetics over anything else. Legally, my lawyer said I have to say that, so now they will get off my back and I can start building again to making things look nice. Continuing our African tropical tour, let's look at the sweet little pygmy hippos. Everyone's favorite type of hippo, especially if you've been around the internet recently, with Moodang, the baby hippo that just took the internet by storm a few months ago. I wonder how Moodang's doing. I should check up on that little Princess Moodang. I'm sure she is growing up to be a fine hippo indeed. As you see, their hippo habitat features a lovely waterfall and a river system for them to lay around and lounge in the water all day. Only the best treatment for our pygmy hippos here is practically a spa, because we even have a mud bath in here for them. Next on the list is a 2-animal habitat, the red river hog and the majestic okapi, if I am saying that correctly. I believe I am. They are quite the bizarre animal, looking a bit like a giraffe and a zebra mixed in with a few other things. A true chimera if there was one. And of course the little river hogs accompanying them, wandering around this river habitat. And speaking of rivers, the way I have designed this African section is that this river, along with other habitat rivers, all conjoin together into one final river for the safari, which features 11 species and is perhaps the largest habitat I have ever built. But you'll see that at the very end of the video. Don't go skipping to it. Might as well just sit around and enjoy the whole tour if you're at this point. And next up on the list is the nyla, a 4-hoofed animal in the tropics of Africa. Beside them is a lovely mini food court, not quite as big as the food court we have coming up. It's a nice little stop for guests coming in from the butterfly gardens, which are just next door. It's a long walk from other food areas at this point in the zoo, so it just gives guests a chance to get some coffee and some donuts and refuel before moving on to the other habitats. And while guests are eating here, they can take a nice little seat and just enjoy the nyla off to the side. As for the habitat itself, it is just a nice basic round habitat with a center viewing area for guests to take a look at these sweet little nylas. And we've named it the Nyla Nook, as you will see the name in a moment. And leaving the Nyla Nook behind, we start moving on to some of our predators for Africa, starting with the fossa, the strange little predator from Madagascar which preys on lemurs. Oh, look there. There's in the background is one stuck in a box. Whoopsie, I probably should have unboxed before filming, but oh well. Oh well, no turning back now. I wanted this all to be one take, so we're leaving it in. And I have to say I had a bit of a hard time creating their habitat, as I didn't realize when I started that the fossa can jump pretty high, and I had to redo most of the walls to prevent them from escaping. And I also had their viewing area created as a circle attached to a larger circular room, so trying to get these two circles to attach was a bit of a logistic nightmare, especially when I decided to add in another circular building off the side for the leopards, which we'll be seeing very soon, as they are of course coming up right next. And look at that, one sleeping right by the window. How lucky are we to see one so quickly? And look, there's another one right there inside the building. What a perfect view. I love it when I'm filming these tours and these animals just happen to play nice for the camera and are just right where we need them to be. Sadly, not all the animals play nice, but when they do, I do appreciate it. We'll just take a quick detour outside before we get into the rest of their habitat, as I just want to show off the Fossa Fortress sign. We debated over on Twitch whether we should name this building after the leopards or the fossa, but ultimately we decided to go with the fossa, as the leopards already have their own sign right here. As I do with many of my cat habitats in the zoo, I like to have these glass domes for guests to walk underneath and look at the cats as they crawl all over, as well as a central viewing area with a glass ceiling again, so that the cats could just sit above the guests, look down, salivate, just wishing that they could eat those juicy humans. Again, these leopards just enjoyed playing nice with the camera. Look at them just pan across the screen at perfect time. Love it. And next up we have the hyenas, specifically the striped hyenas, and right beside their habitat will be the spotted hyenas. Of course we had to keep both of them together, as it just made sense, I think, thematically. Being that the striped hyena can also survive in a variety of habitats, specifically they can live in tropical zones, so I decided to keep them a little bit closer to the other tropical habitats. They make a good transition animal to the other habitats, which are going to be more safari based, specifically the spotted hyena, their next door neighbors. And linking the hyenas along with the cheetahs together is the Predator Plateau, a central viewing area where guests can see multiple animals all around a big old tree growing out in the middle. What a lovely little rock-based viewing area. After all, it wouldn't be one of my builds without just rocks everywhere. So I might as well just build an entire building out of rocks. So let's move on along this rock viewing area to the spotted hyenas, the cousins of the striped hyenas. And while the striped hyenas were all sleeping in the cave, it looks like our spotted ones are out in the field somewhere. Let's go see if we can spot some of them. Ah, look, there they are, being active out in the daylight, unlike their lazy cousins, who just want to sleep all day. And as I'm sure you can tell, we have left the tropical side of this tour behind. And now we're going to enter into the desert and grassland-centric habitats for the African adventure. And now we come to the Gemsbok Glen, a place for guests to come in and look at these strange desert animals that have these huge spears on the back of their heads. Quite an interesting creature, and something I probably would not want to get on the wrong side of, being the back end of it. I'm sure those little spears on their heads can do some damage. Otherwise, I'm sure they are pretty sweet once you get to know them. When building their habitat, I decided to make it a little bit more deserty with large swaths of sand, broken up by a few rock outcroppings with plants clinging to them. Although every now and then, I do put a few patches of greenery to give the animals somewhere to graze and really fatten up. After all, I want my animals to be happy, so of course I have to give them some lovely grazing spaces. And coming up next is the flamingo habitat, which we have dubbed Flamingo Falls, as evident by the vast amount of waterfalls we've decided to put in here. We've also had a little bit of fun over on Twitch, where we made these fun flamingo statues and this lovely sign with googly eyes all over it. We decided to have a little bit more humor with this habitat and take it a little less serious, as the flamingos just seemed like the perfect animal in Africa to play around with. And speaking of flamingos, with the most recent DLC, the Americas pack, we got the American flamingo. So being that I've already created the North American section of the park, I decided to add in here the American flamingo, as they just seem to fit with the other guys. Is that a bit cheaty, keeping the two flamingo species together? Maybe, but I just couldn't figure out a way to fit the flamingos into the North American area, as I had already built everything there. And now let's take a look at our giant food court. This is a massive expansion to the area. As I was building the food court, I decided to keep all the buildings into different groups. As you can see, we have the Gulpy ahead of us, but we'll fly around and look at all the other buildings as we go. As we turn the corner, we can see that we have donuts, baked goods, and coffee, which I feel just fit perfectly together. And across from them is the train station. If you're new to the channel, you know I am building a huge rail network which will eventually encompass the whole zoo. Most of the sections of the zoo all have a train station that links together. It is probably one of my first projects I started, and it may be one of the final things I complete, as of course we can't complete it until all the sections of the zoo are done. Now let's take a quick detour away from the food court and take a look at the Nile lechui. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. They are another lovely four-legged herbivore that is going to be situated right here beside the food court. People can just sit down and enjoy the nice tranquil lechui as they wander around their Nile habitat. Now, leaving the lechui behind, we shall return back to the food court. But first, we'll just fly over the train station so you can see it from this angle. Most of my train stations are more ground level, but this one I decided to build up on stilts and allow guests to walk underneath it. I'm not too sure why, but I just decided to do that, and I'm really happy with the end result. Now let's fly back through the food court. Up here we have Chief Beef, Hot Dog Squad, Pizza Pen, keeping those three together. And we have the Hardy Hippo Happy Hour, a restaurant built beside the hippo habitat, but we will take a look at that a little bit later. Up ahead here we have a lovely memorial to my sweet pet rat Rupert, who passed away only a few months ago. He was the cutest little rat, and he had been part of my streaming career since the start. But sadly, rats do not live that long, and he was over 2 years old. But he had a long, prosperous life with us, and one I hope he felt happy in. And when the time came, we of course had to honor Rupert with the memorial. He will be missed, and we will always remember our sweet boy. And now going back into talking about the tour, as you saw, we just had the Cosmic Cow along with the bathrooms over to the side. Very exciting stuff, I'm sure. And I'm sure, as you can see, there was a river beside some of those buildings, and that is the hippo habitat, and guests can of course look in at the hippo habitat as they eat. And to give you a little bit of incentive for following me over on Twitch, here is a follower board. I have these around the zoo, and anyone who follows me on Twitch will of course get their names splattered around the zoo somewhere. Now we come to the upper bit of the food court, which overlooks the Gembok area. This is just a simple little station where guests can come in and learn a little bit more about the zoo and get some balloons. And beside it we have the Mexican restaurant, as well as some fries if you wanted some deep fried potato. And now Now let's move on to perhaps one of my largest mistakes in the African section is the baboon boulders. While the habitat itself is not a mistake, its placement is. Originally I had intended for the African wild dogs to be placed here, as this links up with the predator plateau we had seen earlier with the hyenas and the upcoming cheetahs. Sadly, when the day came for me to build this, I feel like I was really tired and just wasn't thinking, and by the end of the stream we had built the entire thing and then realized my mistake. And of course I was not going to tear this all apart. I was so happy with the way this whole thing turned out that I decided to just leave the name Predator Plateau and just hope nobody ever mentioned that the baboons weren't predators. I feel like I could have just gotten away with it, but hey, my rambling got the better of me this time, so feel free to make fun of me for misnaming this area the Predator Plateau for these 4 animals, being that one of the 4 isn't a predator. Although I suppose I could get away with saying that they can be predators, being that baboons will occasionally eat meat as they are more opportunistic. But do they actively hunt? I'm not a biologist and I don't know. I suppose I could Google that answer. But it's getting late and I just want to try and get this recording done and head to bed. And next up are the cheetahs. And look at that, we have them right beside the glass. Again, what is it with the cats today just being absolutely photogenic for the camera? And they're just right where we need them to be. These are one of the few cat species where I didn't do the usual stone stool trick where I make a large viewing area with glass domes, as the cheetahs generally don't climb, so I felt like there wasn't a chance to get that working with this habitat. Instead, I gave them a narrow habitat but made it rather long in the hopes that the cheetahs can stretch their long legs and just do some running laps up and down their habitat. Now let's come to the caracal cat. Again, I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. These are another cat species which we could take advantage of their climbing and create the old signature look that I like to do with these cats. Just like the leopards, we make this glass dome with a large viewing area in the middle, with the cats able to get up above. While with the leopards, their viewing area was in the middle of the habitat. For the caracals, we decided to attach it this time to their sleeping cave. And pay no attention to another animal that is stuck in the box. For the sake of trying to keep this as one solid take, I just am going to leave that there and we will open it up after the tour. Trust me, he is no longer in that box. I make sure my animals are unboxed whenever I catch those things happening. As for the outside of the habitat, we have a bit of a water pool down below, but I have an extended climbing frame going all the way around the outside so the guests can get a chance to look at the cats walking along the edges. And there is another follower wall. Again, you can get your name in the zoo if you give me a follow over on Twitch. Now let's get over to the lion habitat. We have this little side route where guests can come up into a lecture room and learn a little bit more about the lions and gaze upon the rock formation I had created. I wonder where I got the inspiration for this from. I'm not too sure, it just popped into my head one day. Okay, yes, it's from Lion King. I feel like if you're going to do a lion habitat, you just have to make a pride rock. So this is my take on it. We made it a big sheer cliff, just like in the movie, and then there is a backside to the cave where lions can get up on top of that rock, they can sleep underneath it, or in, of course, the cave behind it, as we will see soon enough. Now entering the Roaring Ridge tunnel, we can take a look at the lions inside. This of course is underneath the Pride Rock Formation, where the lions sleep tonight. Okay, is that joke pretty bad? I feel like it was pretty bad. Maybe it was a bit forced, but you know what? I'm just going to leave it in anyways. And beside the lions we have the wild dogs. This originally was where I was going to put the baboons, but like I said earlier, I mistakenly placed the baboons where the dogs were going to go, so the dogs had to go where the baboons went. It seemed only right. Overall, I am happy way their habitat turned out as well. Inside we have a lovely waterfall inside the sleeping cave. Not something I generally do, but I really like the idea. Maybe the wild dogs don't like the sound of running water, but it's in there and I'm sure they got used to it at this point, and now they just can't sleep without that background noise of the waterfall. The wild dogs share a small viewing area with the elephants. Although we won't show off the elephants right now, we will come back to them a little bit later. For now, let's zip on past this to what's across the path, the rhinos, specifically the black rhinos. The white rhinos are in this area as well, but they are in the massive safari. For now, let's just jump over to the black rhinos. Look at that guy go. He's just working out like it's nothing. Perfect for the camera. Some good photogenic animals today for the tour. And now a fun bit of trivia for this habitat along with the elephants and the great safari at the end. There is a jeep track ride going through the 3 habitats. You will notice that there is no track as I've buried it underground. Although it does tend to glitch out the jeep a little bit where it looks like it sinks in the ground. But I wanted to really get rid of that track as I felt like it just took away from the beauty of these habitats. With the exception of a few bridges along the route, there is no visible track for you to see, as it is all perfectly hidden underground. And even though the rhinos are big, I still try to adhere to my doctrine that I do not like flat habitats. So to compensate, I just make this into a little bit more of a gentle slope going upwards, allowing the rhinos to work out their legs going up and down these gentle hills. Let me know what you think. Do you like the non-flat habitats, or would you prefer some of these habitats to be a little bit more flatter, especially for these larger animals? Now, zooming around here, let's take a quick look at the sign I had created for this building, as I'm quite proud of how it turned out with the rhino horn taking out the word "of" in Horns of Africa. And of course this is the back to the baboons, which we have already looked at. So let's zoom back to the start of the food court and work our way down this river, as we might be able to see some hippos swimming through it. And there they are, just wallowing around in the shallow part of the river, right below that waterfall enrichment item. They always love hanging out there, and I'm sure the guests love to see them. Now let's take a quick look at the bottom of the hippo restaurant. This is a nice African themed restaurant, as you can see, you guys can come in and look out at the hippo habitat. I'm sure that glass is perfectly safe and the hippos most certainly cannot break through and steal your food. Although if you want maximum safety, I recommend getting the upper floor where you can look down at the hippos without any glass. Just make sure you don't fall in. Again, safety is our #1 concern here at the World Zoo. Legally, I'm obligated to say that. Oh, look at this boy. He just wallowed around in the mud, having his best life. Again, another perfectly photogenic animal, almost like I planned for a hippo to be there. Now let's take a quick look at the upper layer. This is more of the VIP lounge, perhaps, where you have to spend extra money to get up there and you get an even better view of the hippos. As for the rest of the habitat, it is just a simple wetland with lots of space for the hippos to swim around in. And of course, plenty of vantage points for the guests to walk around and enjoy the hippos from. And now we leave the hippos and come over to the elephants. For them, they have a vast amount of space to play around in, as well as a central building that we've named the Pachydome to help house these lovely little pachyderms. Clever wordplay, I love it. And speaking of clever wordplay, big shout out to OriginTT over on Twitch, one of my subscribers and a fellow streamer who helps me name the vast majority of my habitats. He's always on the ball when I'm asking for names for these things, which is why you might spot little signs around these tours with his name on it, as anyone who helps name one of these habitats gets their name right beside it. And as I said before, we have the Jeep track built in here as well, as you can most likely see the dirt path marking where the Jeep comes through, giving everyone on the Jeep ride the perfect chance to interact with the elephants. Now let's just adjust the camera and go this way and fly into the dome. Guests can of course walk around the exterior of the dome, but they can also enter the inside so they can look down upon the elephants as they are sleeping or eating. Although there are none inside right now, as you can see, because they are enjoying the beautiful day outside. Might as well enjoy it while you can, and then they'll come in here to rest for the evening. Oh no, watch out! Oh no! Oh. Ooh, that was close. Almost went directly where the sun don't shine, although we did get a good view of it. Okay, that is enough of the elephants. Now let's continue on to the largest habitat I have ever created. Let's just fly over our large male here and go take a look at the Grasslands Oasis. A lovely safari build which features 11 species in the zoo. These species being the springbuck, the warthogs, the black and blue wildebeest, water buffalo, sable antelope, zebra, ostriches, Thompson gazelle, white rhinos, and of course the giraffes. Quite the collection of animals. I believe when I record this I had over 100 different animals roaming around this area amongst the 11 species. Now this habitat is so large and expansive that it is larger than entire sections of the zoo. For instance, the North American area could easily fit within here, or the petting zoo, or Australia. It is so large. Considering that this habitat has more species than entire sections of the zoo have, it makes sense that we made it as large as we did. And of course, this habitat took a long time to build, considering the size of it, as you can imagine, but I think the work paid off in the end. every patch of grass and every tree placed down with the hopes of making this habitat look a little bit more wild, like the savannah. And while most of the savannah is unreachable for guests unless they are taking the Jeep ride, I did want to give them a chance to see the animals more up close. We created these 3 viewing platforms raised off the ground, connected by bridges, so guests can go on a little walk through the safari without directly interfering with the animals. And for a bit of flavor, I've created a small feeding area here that looks like a farm with a couple African huts built around it, just as a way to attract the animals a little bit more closer to the path and our hotel. And yes, this is a large hotel we decided to build. As Chad has been mentioning, this zoo is too large for anyone to see in one day, so we decided to just add in a hotel for guests to come and stay in, and we named it the Resting Rhino. And beside it is a small gift shop called Trunk Trinkets, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Before we do, let's turn around and look at the interior for the safari sleeping area. This is just a large barn for the animals to come in and get some rest, and also a chance for the guests to see the animals from indoors. And looking at the front of the building, we can see where guests can get on to line up for the Jeep ride, as well as entering the building to get onto that footpath we saw earlier. And this lovely sign called the Grasslands Oasis, as voted for by chat. And coming in, we can look at the gift shop at the bottom of the hotel, named Trunk Trinkets. We flew by that earlier, but here is the interior. Just a quaint little store filled with props all over the place for guests to look at and want to buy. We even have a little display recreating the scene from Lion King. Well, builders, that was the end of this rather long tour. Perhaps the longest tour I will ever do, as I don't imagine any sections of the zoo will get larger than Africa. But I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to give me a follow over on Twitch and come check me live, as I still have much more to build for this zoo. but I feel it, we are getting close. There's only about 20 to 25 more species to go, with 3 sections left. That would be the campground for the new DLC animals, the desert section, and the Indian section. All will be coming soon to the channel. Although first, I do have a lot of editing ahead of me. We have to edit all of these builds and get them up on the channel for some speed builds. Whether you like to watch them or not, I like to keep them as an archive on this channel. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you really liked it, because there'll always be more zoo stuff. So builders, with that, I hope you have a good one. May your zoos be amazing and may you love them. Have a great day. Goodbye.